he carries like 3 rounds in his magazine because he doesn't want to wear out the spring in his magazine. And I'm like, dude, that is not how that works.
You can change those parts out,
Yeah, but he's one of those, he never shoots the thing. He never,
Right.
But, and so I always joke with him and we have a good laugh about it. I'll call him Barney Fife. I'm like, all right, well, just get the bullet out of your pocket and run it up.
Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, before we start this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I want to say that if you are here and you're watching the show, I greatly appreciate that you're here. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel because it's good for all things YouTube analytics. If you are listening to the podcast version of the show, please subscribe to the channel so that you will get notifications when new shows come out. We're glad you guys are here, and I appreciate you guys watching. All right, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today we are in Bluefield, West Virginia, and we have Will Workman with us. Will, it is a pleasure.
Pleasure to be here, man.
I am glad. So one of my ridiculous goals is to film a show in every state.
I like it.
And I messaged somebody in West Virginia, and I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
And weren't able to make it happen. And then you reached out to me a while ago. And you're like, hey, if you're ever in West Virginia, I'm like, I got to keep this in the back of my mind.
Yep.
And lo and behold, I have to take a trip to Nashville. And I'm like, hey, Will, are you around on a Thursday morning?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, West Virginia is not really on the way to most places. So.
So last year, I brought my daughter down to college, to Nashville for college last year. And legit, somebody reached out to me on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And it was Hank Yasek from.
Okay.
He's, oh my God, I forget his company's name, but he's been in the biz side of things, on the retail and on the sales side.
Yeah.
Forever. He's done seminars at SHOT Show and everything. So legit, this Hank Yasek emailed me on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I don't know if you're ever in Kentucky. And I'm like, I have to film a show in Kentucky. I'm like, you are in luck. I will be there on Sunday. So awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah. That's
that
awesome.
Was really cool. All right, so tell us about yourself. How did you become a gun guy? Like, growing up in West Virginia, I'm going to go out and say that a lot of people in here are gun folk.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, not because of their political affiliation, but this seems like an area where everybody's a gun owner.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think pretty much everybody around here is at least Second Amendment friendly.
Yeah.
Like it's most people are gun owners. But as far as like this self-defense world, I can talk about this in a minute, but it's kind of, there's a lot of kind of the old school Appalachian, my dad taught me how to shoot, so that's good enough kind of thing,
right.
Which as an instructor can be really frustrating.
Oh my gosh.
But no, yeah, I grew up around guns. I started turkey hunting and deer hunting when I was probably 8 or 9.
Wow.
So I became pretty familiar. My dad's a really big hunter, really big bow hunter too. So I kind of got into rifle shooting and shotgun shooting when I was pretty young. But honestly, until I was probably, I don't know, 19 or 20, I probably shot a pistol like once. My dad had a .22 pistol and I remember shooting it with him once. So yes, I kind of have always been gun friendly, I guess. I've always liked guns and enjoyed shooting them, but really didn't have any type of, like, I didn't know anyone in my life that legitimately concealed carried growing up.
Right.
Like, my dad had his concealed carry license, and he would like stick his revolver under the seat of his car when we went on trips. But that was the extent of it, you know? And
These were different times, weren't they?
yeah. And that was what I remember about concealed carry, was that, oh yeah, well, if you go on a trip, you need
We're going
to
on a
stick
trip,
it
bring
under.
a gun. You got to protect
exactly.
yourself when you're away.
Yeah, so I knew gun safety when I was young, but I really knew nothing about guns, about shooting, other than hunting. I mean, I was decent with a rifle. I was good with a shotgun, honestly, because turkey hunting can be pretty challenging, because it's constantly a moving target. They never stand still. But yeah, so I kind of was enjoyed shooting when I was younger, but it wasn't until I was 21 where I really kind of got into the self-defense world and got interested in pistols, and got my concealed carry, like, you know, the day after I turned 21 or something. I was ready at that point. So yeah, and just kind of a slow progression from there, actually learning some things and getting rid of some bad habits that I grew up with.
That's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
what was it that, what was like the tipping point that made you say, you know what, I really want to get into this and do this a bit more, maybe take it a little more seriously?
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, for a lot of people, there's kind of a turning point in their life where they go through something that's, you know, like makes them more self-defense minded or scares them enough to start thinking about concealed carry and stuff like that. It wasn't really like that for me. I don't really have a cool story as far as like being scared for my life and, you know, feeling like I needed to carry, which I guess is a good thing. But no, I had some friends in college that were, so I started, I should say this first. When I started college, I wanted to go into law enforcement. I wanted to be a cop. I actually wanted to be a U.S. Marshal for a long time. And so,
you know, the great job about being a U.S. Marshal, like, you know, U.S. Marshal, if you're going to be flying on planes, the greatest thing about that is if everything goes well, you're sleeping on a plane.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing to do.
True,
if everything goes well, you're not working, man.
That's true, yeah.
However, when something bad happens, take a right or left here.
Left.
All right. When something bad happens, you know, something bad really happens.
Yep.
You gotta be able to perform pretty quickly.
And you're on your own.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I had interest in being that, and I went to, when I was young, I went to, we'll turn right here. I went to Bluefield College, and we'll actually drive by it here in just a minute. But yeah, so I went there. I loved their criminal justice department. I went to like some camps and stuff when I was, you know, in high school to kind of get to know the department, and just, they have an incredible criminal justice department. And so a lot of it was just, I was really interested in that stuff. I thought it was really cool. And we went to the range when I was probably not 18, 19, and I loved it. Like, I shot a Glock for the first time. We did some defensive shotgun stuff, and it was all like beginner level stuff. Like, here's how you hold it, here's how you shoot the target. It wasn't like we were running drills or coming out of the holster or anything like that. But yeah, I loved it. I was like, dang, this is a lot of fun. And it has nothing to do with hunting. Like hunting, you know, you go 10 times, you might get to shoot once, you know? You're not, it's not like the shooting aspect of it. It is important when you need it, but you're not doing a lot of shooting hunting, unless you're a lot better at it than I am. But yeah,
it all depends on bringing the animals in.
That's true.
And, you know, are you doing some scouting?
Yeah. So yeah, I just kind of fell in love with it, just shooting at the range, and kind of, I was thinking more in the cop world at that point, honestly, but I had a couple friends that were also in the criminal justice department who already had their concealed carry. They were interested in it. They did a little bit of training here and there. And I was like, man, like, you know, I'm interested in this at least. And it wasn't long after that, I can't remember if it was before I got my concealed carry or maybe a little bit afterwards, that I found active self-protection on YouTube. And that really changed my perspective from being interested in concealed carry and being interested in handgun shooting to feeling like, man, I need to start carrying some cool tools to protect myself, because you never know. You don't get to pick the time and place. And so yeah, that's kind of how I started into it.
That's cool. So when did it
take a right here.
When did it get to the point where you wanted to start Workman protection and start becoming an instructor? Yeah,
so I honestly didn't do any training for years and years. years, like 6 years probably after I got my concealed carry. And I started watching Active Self-Protection and some other channels and just started doing some drills and picking things up as I went. And I just kind of got to the point where I was, turn right here. I just was seeing a lot of other people progress online, and I thought, well, I don't really know how to do that, or I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I can't hit anything at that distance, or I can't get that speed enough, and we'll go straight here. I think you're getting left lane. Yeah, so I just kind of started doing stuff on my own and just wasn't really satisfied with where I was. So I thought I need to get some training.
Might be a good idea to get some instruction.
Yeah. So yeah,
kind of the nice message to get out to those guys that learned how to shoot squirrels with their granddad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So actually, before I did that, before I got any classes in, I started doing IDPA matches.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So in Christiansburg, which is about an hour, maybe 45 minutes from me. I went up there and started doing IDPA matches, and if you've never done any competitive shooting, you need to at least try an IDPA match, because everything is from concealment, and it's very practical. I'm going to say practice. I'm not going to say training, because you're not being instructed in any way other than just safety protocols. But it does force you to take safety seriously. It gets you really far out of the box as far as moving and shooting and time under pressure. Like, I remember my first match, and I had practiced with a timer a lot on my own. But man, when you got like 20, 30 people watching you and that timer, and you have to remember, like, I go here and then I shoot here, and then you draw, and I was like, how do I use this thing? Like, I don't, And so yeah, I honestly, up to that point, what I practiced the most was just draw to first shot. And so when I started doing IDPA matches, I was missing the second shot like every time because my grip was crap, my sight picture was crap. Yeah. But man, I could get out and get that first hit on target, and then if I wanted to hit again, I had to readjust my grip and really focus. And so that kind of showed me I really like this stuff, but I need to get some more training and get some work in.
Right.
So 2021, I think, I went to the 2022 was last year. I went to the Active Self-Protection Conference, and you'll take a right at this light. Yeah, and the Active Self-Protection Conference is kind of a buffet of firearms instructors, so you get a little bit of everything. Yeah. So I knew going into it that I was interested in pistol stuff. I really wanted to get better with my pistol. I still, to this day, like, I'm comfortable with a shotgun and a rifle, but it's not where my heart is. Like, I love pistol shooting. So, I was fanboying over John Correa, so I signed up for like everything he offered, which was great. I mean, I really enjoyed training with him. But then I trained with this guy named Adam Winch, and he teaches a class called Unconventional but Necessary Gunfighting. And so it's really stretching and uncomfortable. It's shooting from uncomfortable positions and drawing from uncomfortable positions and shooting from the ground and rolling around and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And Adam helped me even in John's class. He kind of assisted with John's with my tension in my shoulders and, cleaning up my grip a little bit and all that kind of stuff. Because I was just trying to go as fast as possible and not focusing on the little fundamental things. Not
embarrass yourself.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And, so he helped me a lot going into his class. And then his class, I was like, man, this is awesome. And so I knew going into that, like, I was already doing some helping beginner people around here, people in my church, people that I, had met at the gym with some just basic fundamental stuff. So I had a lot of people around concealed carry classes, and they'd shoot 10 rounds or something, and they would be like, I don't know what kind of holster to buy, I don't know how to reload my gun, or I don't know how to clean my gun, or I don't know. So I was already doing a lot of like, well, come over to the house and I'll help you out with this, or let's go to the range and I'll show you this, or whatever. So just kind of fundamental stuff. And I knew enough to know that I really enjoyed helping people out. I knew that I wasn't an expert with my gun, but I enjoyed helping people at least feel more comfortable with their gun and buying safe holsters and carrying other gear and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I knew that I wanted to instruct. And got my NRA instructor certification, and then went to, which is a good beginning step, but
right. It's a good, my attitude about the NRA courses is this: if you're not a gun person, and if you're not a gun person, you're not going to know about things like the USCCA. Yeah. You're not going to know who active self-protection is. You got to start somewhere, and everybody knows NRA. So if you, as a new gun person, sign up for an NRA class, get yourself up and going, and then after you get into it, who are some people to read? What are some videos to watch? Some YouTube channels to check out? Right. What are some other things? How do I get some more training from here? Right.
Yeah, and I do think it's a good place to start. My one gripe with the NRA is I think it's very outdated with their teaching stuff. So like their concealed carry class, part of their concealed carry class is you have to know how to load and unload a single action revolver. Right. And I'm like, I always ask people, because I teach my own class. I learned a lot from doing the NRA class, but I wanted to design my own because I thought there's so much that's necessary and there's a lot that's not. And so I ask people, and you turn right at this light. Okay. I asked people in my class, like, how many of you are planning on carrying, a cowboy gun, a single action revolver? Of course, nobody raises their hand.
Nobody does. Right?
I'm like, all right, so we're going to move on, right? But yeah, so I took that class, and then the one that really made a difference for me, both as a shooter and as an instructor, was deliberate coaching with Brian Hill. So when I took that class, there's kind of two parts with it. There's the performance part where he coaches you and he, helps you improve and helps you with your weaknesses and go across this big bridge. And then there's the teaching aspect, and he comes from a martial arts background, and so much of it is how to motivate people, how to help people feel good, how to help people feel comfortable, and that really helped me with my instructing. When I started instructing, this is a two-part question because it's instructing and the YouTube channel. I know. I was really impacted with active self-protection, honestly, when I first got into concealed carry. And I still to this day, I feel like I would not know what I know if it wasn't for John and Neil and Steph and the team putting out content just on simple stuff like, getting a safe holster and how to do dry fire and, what a shot timer is and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And what I was finding was that, what active self-protection was famous for is kind of the breakdowns of their self-defense encounters. And then they have the extra channel that's kind of all the extra stuff. And I was answering questions for people at church, for people in my community that they weren't getting answers to. I was getting the same questions like, hey, what kind of holster should I buy? Hey, what kind of drills are good to do? What kind of gun should I buy? And it was questions that I couldn't answer in 30 seconds that I was like, well, let's sit down and talk about it, or let's grab coffee or whatever.
Right. Let's try to figure out what's going to work for you.
Yeah. And so I kind of got to the point where I was like, if everybody has these same questions, why don't I just start making videos to explain these things? Because I can do it in, if I'm structured with what I'm saying, I can do it in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Yeah. And kind of get this information out. And the thing that I wanted to do differently than everybody else on YouTube, so my wife and I do wedding photography, and we've done some videography and things like that. And I was like, in the Second Amendment world, it's a bunch of 50, 60-year-old guys throwing a camera up and, talking about stuff at the range or whatever. But there's not the production quality in the niche of firearms instructing. The production quality typically is very low. And that's just because there's not a lot of young people doing it, like, honestly. And people are coming at it from a instructor perspective rather than from a content creator perspective. And so I thought, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to start making YouTube videos, I have to do something different. I have to stand out. I want to be authentically me, so that sets me apart because I'm different than other people. But I want to have the highest production quality on my videos, so that people, have really good, clear demonstrations on, when we're doing trigger pull, or when we're doing dry fire, or when we're safely reholstering. And having things like B-roll when we're talking about holsters. So there's somebody's looking at a particular holster that I do a review on or that I talk about, they're able to see, okay, here's what the mod wing looks like, or the claw looks like. Here's what the holster clips look like. Here's, you know, how you put it on. Here's how easy it is to get the gun out of the holster, things like that. So yeah, I was just answering questions with my friends and in class and at church that I kept getting over and over. And I thought there's got to be other people that are interested in these questions that need answers for this. So I just started making videos explaining those things.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. What do you have to do to get a permit here in West Virginia? So I know it's a permitless carry state.
Yep.
Do you have the enhanced permit where there's places that you can carry without a permit and more places you can carry with a permit? Is it the structure license like that?
Yeah, so no, it's not really that structured. We are permitless carry. You can still get your concealed carry. The biggest draw in my area is, so when we drove past, right before we took that exit off of 460, we were in Virginia.
Yeah.
So we're so close to the Virginia line that Virginia doesn't have permitless carry. So around here, it's kind of like, if you're going to go to Walmart and you live in Bluefield, then, you know, and you want to carry
you're
there.
Need a permit.
Yeah, you're going to need a permit
to go 8 miles down the road.
Exactly. So for West Virginia to get a concealed carry, you have to take an NRA, a class from an NRA certified instructor. So it doesn't have to be the NRA class. It just has to be some type of, I think the code puts it as a gun safety class from an NRA instructor.
Right, from somebody that's an instructor from a nationally recognized organization.
Right.
Like that,
and the code actually doesn't say that you have to have live fire in your class, which is kind of like concerning to me. Like, so I just did a video on constitutional carry versus concealed carry and how I feel about it. And I have very mixed feelings, honestly, as a Second Amendment absolutist and also as a firearms instructor who think that people need training. But no, my outlook on the concealed carry class is, if you're coming to me to take a concealed carry class in a permitless carry state, it's not because you want to know just the 4 rules of firearm safety and how to clean your gun, right? Like, you want to actually have at least a little bit of actual training. Yeah. So that's what I try to do. But yeah, there are some other instructors that just do the bare minimum. Which is kind of a disservice to people that want to
get training.
Classes.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. I'm stuck in a state where there are 28 classes that are approved courses that people can take, and everybody wants to take the bare minimum, and they always think that that's the maximum training that they're going to need. And then I always try to let people know, say, listen, you know what, you're doing the NRA home firearm safety. It's rifle, shotguns, and handguns online.
Right.
This is just to teach you how to be safe with a gun, where you know, people want to get up and they want to press the trigger and, you know, dry fire the gun when they're loading it and whatnot.
Right.
You show them the difference between single action, double action, and they're like, how are my hands? I'm like, let's not worry. Just hold it this way, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it, right? Like, this isn't something that we need to worry about. We don't have to worry about having a good grip here. Yeah. Because all we're doing, not that we don't have to worry about having a good grip.
Right.
But that's not really the emphasis of what the class is. So
right.
I always offer to people to take them out and spend a couple, once they buy a gun, take them out and get them familiar with their gun.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think that's really important. And I think that, like you said, people kind of want to come in and get it all at once. And it's like drinking from a fire hose. If I try to give you everything as far as what you need, you know, we can't do a trauma medical class and a pepper spray class and everything within but I can mention, you know, here's some other tools that you might need, and here's some other places to go to get those.
Right. Yeah, we're talking about gun safety, but you wanted to worry about active shooter. Let's take our time.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get safe first. Let's worry about not shooting ourselves first.
So when you pick up the gun, I always tell people guns were ergonomics before ergonomics was cool.
Yeah.
You want to put your finger there. You have to make sure you do not put your finger there.
Right. Yeah.
Well, let's work on that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I teach the class in both West Virginia and Virginia because I'm just so close to the line. In Virginia, I get a lot of people from Virginia, because you do have to have a concealed carry permit in Virginia. And the only difference with Virginia just recently changed where you have to take a class from an NRA instructor or a USCCA instructor. So they just opened that up, which is pretty cool. But it does have to include live fire as well. So it changes nothing about my class. It's just like the wording on because I'll teach a class and have half West Virginia people and half Virginia people.
Right.
But just the wording on the certificate is a little different because of the way the code is written. But yeah, so that's kind of the draw around here, is just that if people travel at all, they want to have their permit, or they just are like me and they're like, well, I hunted when I was young, but I don't know anything about pistols, or I don't know anything about carrying a gun. So they want to take a class to kind of get the basics of that.
That's cool. Do you let what people ask you in class kind of guide where your YouTube videos?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so honestly, one of the biggest questions that I get asked in class that I have a hard time answering on YouTube is I get women in my class that want to know, what's the best holster for women? What's the best way for women to conceal carry? And I tell them that, I don't like off-body carry if at all possible. I really don't like purse carry or backpack carry or anything like that. And I talk about the Filster Enigma, which I absolutely love. And the reason that I do talk about the Filster Enigma on YouTube, but I'm not a female. And so nobody's going to click on my video when I'm like, women, here's what you need. Yeah, exactly. Because I do mention when I talk about the Filster Enigma, like, you can wear it in a dress, you can wear it in a skirt, but obviously, like, I'm not going to show you how to do that.
Right. That's my other YouTube channel. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, so I do struggle with some of those questions to answer in class because, it's just, I can give you pointers, but I also have a hard time answering like what's the best holster or what's the best position, because I'm like, well, it depends on your body type. It depends on where you want to carry, what's important to you. Yeah, but yeah, no, I would say that honestly, probably like 80% of the YouTube videos I make, like, people will ask something in class and I'm like, let me write that down. Like, that gives me 3 ideas for videos. But yeah, because the questions that people are asking in class are the same questions that people are Googling and the same questions that people were searching on YouTube for. Right. And YouTube is a search engine above all else.
Yeah. Right. It's the second largest search engine owned by the company that has the first largest search engine.
Exactly. So yeah, a lot of that stuff that and just mistakes that people make or concerns that people have in class lead where I go with the YouTube channel.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you made a commitment recently.
Yeah.
To
I got left up here.
All right, because I have no idea where we are. I have absolutely no idea. None. You made a career jump.
Yep.
God bless you. God bless you, man.
Yeah.
God bless you. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was a probation officer in Virginia, and I worked with juveniles, specifically with juveniles. And so I honestly loved what I did. It was my favorite job that I ever had. It was law enforcement enough for me that I was interacting with cops and I was in court all the time.
Right.
And I was able to help people. But it was not law enforcement to the point of having to pull people over at 2 a.m. or, do search warrants and all that fun stuff. But it was honestly, I tell people it was somewhere in between law enforcement and social work, because I was working with kids and I was working with families and I was working with teenagers that had adult issues. Like, don't get me wrong, I had, people that, malicious woundings and sexual predators and, some very serious things that we were dealing with. But we were also dealing with parents and family structure and counseling and that kind of thing. So I love that, honestly. You'll go across this old school bridge.
God, I haven't heard banjos yet.
So this town is the town of Bramwell. And this is just right next to my town. And I kind of want to drive through here to just show you what the houses looked like. This town had the highest number of millionaires per capita in the U.S. at one time when the coal mines were big. Yeah,
Really?
so just keep going straight. Yeah. So this is the tiny little town, and they do like historic tours and stuff down here. But there's some like 4-story houses down here that were built in the late 1800s.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, so you can go right or left here. I think left, maybe. And we'll just drive through and then come back out. Yeah, so where was I? Oh, career, yeah.
Career, yes.
So yeah, I honestly loved that. I cannot say enough good things about the people that I worked with. We were in the sheriff's office. I loved the sheriff. I loved my supervisor. I loved my coworkers, and just really cool area that I worked in. But my biggest gripe with the job was, you know, I'm so passionate about people concealed carrying and people able to defend themselves. And here I am in this law enforcement job. I'm a sworn officer of the court. I have the ability, I don't have arrest powers, but I do have the ability to charge kids with crimes and issue detention orders for kids to be picked up by the sheriff's office and, you know, taken into custody. And we were not allowed to carry a firearm. And not only were we not allowed to carry a firearm, you can turn around back here wherever. It's out here. Yeah, you can turn around right here and we'll head back. Yep.
There's nowhere to do a 3-point turn.
You can turn. You can
somebody's
put this
backyard.
back right here, wherever.
Oh my God.
I told you this is the sticks. There's 2 deer. You see them? You see them right
Oh
there?
yeah, right over
Yeah.
the right over there.
Yeah.
Oh, there's 3. There's one here.
There's 2 right
There's
there.
2.
Yeah.
This is pretty wild.
This is out there.
Holy moly.
So yeah, I not only did they not let us carry a firearm, but their safety training was an absolute joke.
Yeah.
So we had there was no like trauma medical, CPR, Narcan, which was
Narcan might be kind of handy when you're going into a juvenile's house.
Exactly.
Right, somebody
whose parents are known drug dealers, and you know,
right, it might be a good idea to have something to save somebody's life, even if it's not your own life.
Yeah, and dogs. We dealt with dogs constantly,
Oh
and during our basic training, they said, I'm not joking, this is policy. You can carry cat treats or lemon juice to squirt in dogs' eyes if a dog gets aggressive. And it was in Virginia. It was run by people in Northern Virginia because it was a state job. So it was a very liberal organization. And I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. And I just said, you know, this is very different when you're talking about a Chihuahua versus an aggressive German Shepherd or Rottweiler.
Yeah.
So yeah, OC spray was kind of like frowned upon. Yeah, so yeah, you go back right this way. So yeah, just kind of that bugged me, and it wasn't something that I was like angry about. It wasn't something that even my office could control because it was state run. But I did go through as respectful as possible. You just go straight through.
Right.
As respectful as possible, talk to the people above me about that, and nothing changed. There was no promise of change or anything like that. So I had started the YouTube channel several months before and just wanted to do more and more with it. I wanted to instruct in person and on YouTube and help people. That's you know, I love teaching. That's what I loved about the job that I was doing, was teaching people how to become better, teaching these kids how to turn their lives around. And I wanted to teach people how to defend themselves and how to you know, protect themselves and their families. And so I had started the channel. The channel was doing pretty well, not raking in the dough, but making a few bucks here and there. And instructing was bringing in a little bit of money. And like I said, my wife and I do wedding photography. And so I just kind of got to the point where I was like, you know, financially, we don't have to have this job right now. We can take a little bit of a risk and let instructing grow, let the YouTube channel grow. Photography is continuing to grow. And so I just said, you know, I wanted to spend my time helping people that wanted help, and not people that were court ordered to get help. Because it's a very different mentality. Like, you know, dude, like we've had this conversation 17 times. You gotta quit punching your grandma in the face. You just gotta, you know. So that was what a lot of my time was, you know, based on. And yeah, I guess you're right. And
that seems a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
You gotta tell someone how much groom in the face.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, I that was kind of one reason, and the other reason was I love being a dad. I love spending time with my kids. My wife and I homeschool. For a couple of years, my wife did it by herself because I was working every day. And I wanted to spend time with my kids. And I felt like, in this career, I'm spending a ton of time helping these kids and these families who are court ordered to get help and whose parents don't want to help them, and these families that don't want to improve and don't want to get better. And I'm here doing this, and my kids are at home spending a couple hours with dad in the evening before they go to bed. And so I was like, I want to be home with my family. I want to be able to travel with them, to take my daughter on field trips, to fish with them, to, take them hunting, my daughter loves going to the range. She's a beast with a 22.
Nice.
So I wanted to spend time with them. So I made that big career jump to full-time YouTuber and firearms instructor, and left law enforcement.
God bless you, man. That's awesome.
Yep. It's still scary. I still have days where I wake up and I'm like, man, this is a crazy decision. But I'm just kind of at the point where I could take the financial risk and be fine with it. And I wanted to just pour everything that I could into my kids, into instructing, and into YouTube and into training. Like, I really wanted to be able to I want to be able to take 3, 4, 5 days and not have to sacrifice vacation with my family to go train. And so now I can do both. It's pretty awesome.
That's great. What I like about it most, and I never took any business courses. I don't, whatever. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But what I did learn is that anything that's after I became a gun instructor and had business cards, right?
Yeah.
That made it official.
Oh yeah.
But anything that's gun related, I can write off on my taxes. I'm like, hey, I kind of like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And, with doing YouTube, with that being a big part of my business, anything that's like YouTube related or content created related, then I can write off as well, which is pretty awesome.
I talked to one guy that said he was having some dental work done and his teeth whitened. Yeah. And he says, I talked to my accountant, and my accountant said I could write it off, write off the dental work. I'm like, dude, that's awesome.
It makes sense, Your face is the brand, so.
Exactly. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
How long have you had the YouTube channel up and going?
About 7 months now. This is my 7th month. Yeah.
Very cool.
So, well, I will say maybe 2 months before that, I started throwing up some YouTube shorts of me shooting competition. Yeah. But as far as the long form weekly videos, I started in January.
So weekly videos?
Yep.
Weekly videos, very cool. And you have some affiliate links?
Yeah, I've got several affiliates that I work with, and then some sponsors that I'm planning content for right now. I haven't uploaded any videos with sponsors yet, but I will here soon. But yeah, I have affiliates through a bunch of different companies: trauma medical gear, holsters, dry fire gear, stuff like that. So I've also just had the privilege of getting to know a lot of these people in these companies that are big in the industry, and just kind of hearing their hearts and what their passions are for helping people and protecting people. And that's honestly one of the coolest part of this business, is just being able to get to know like-minded people and find out why they're doing what they're doing.
Right. Yeah. So you should be going to this thing called the Gun Rights Policy Conference.
Okay.
And the day before the Gun Rights Policy Conference is this thing called AMCON.
Okay.
And AMCON is the Alternative Multimedia Conference. So you need to check this out. So getting back to what you were saying is hanging out with like-minded people. Going to Gun Rights Policy Conference, going to AMCON, going to the NRA annual meetings. To me, I've heard people say that they were the biggest family reunions you'll ever go to. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Right? I moved away from my family when I was 18.
Yeah.
which is good because none of my sisters watch the show.
Right.
But going to these things, like you build these relationships with these people around the country.
Yeah.
And you watch each other on social media, and you see them doing this, and you see them doing that.
Yeah.
And then you get to hang out with them for a weekend.
Yeah.
It's really a great way to recharge your batteries and
Yeah.
to make that connection stronger and hang out with like-minded people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've had gotten some of that in training too, because like I went to the Active Self-Protection Conference, which was in Kansas, and then I went to Brian Hill's Deliberate Coaching class, which was in Indiana, and saw several of the same people. I'm like, the people that are like really serious about training is such a small community that you end up running into people like in completely other parts of the country that you're like, oh yeah, like, it's crazy.
For the first few years, I remember talking with one of my friends.
Yeah.
And I said, so I don't know if you've picked up on this, but every time we've seen each other, it's been in a different state.
Yeah.
Like I saw you in Florida, and then I saw you in Ohio, and then I saw you in DC.
Yeah.
And then I saw you in Texas, and then I saw you in Illinois.
Yeah.
I saw you in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I saw you
It's
in
crazy.
Pennsylvania.
It's crazy. It's a close-knit community. It really is.
It really is.
Yeah.
One of the big objectives that I have for my show, and someone told me I needed a mission statement. I thought that was crazy, but one of my mission statement, or I had a mission statement. I don't have it memorized, unfortunately. But one of the objectives is to show people that gun owners are just regular people. Yeah. Like we have all the same issues everyone else has. Right. But we have some other interests. Mm-hmm. And we want to be able to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Yeah. Yeah. And this is what it's about. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. Honestly, like when I started the channel, that's really was part of being like authentically me and who I am. Mm-hmm. For the longest time when I was younger, I'm saying when I was younger, even like when Dude's
I first
probably 30.
Not quite yet, but
see.
No, but even after, like when I was in college and when I started carrying a gun after college and first got married, I kind of like, I dress kind of like a hipster for the most part. Like I'm a grown up now, so I wear polos. I still wear skinny jeans, but
skinny jeans for me means I need to have a salad.
That's right. But yeah, I wanted to showcase like, this is who I am. I'm a dad. I'm a worship leader. I'm, a husband. I'm not your typical firearms instructor. Like, do I have a law enforcement background? If you want to put it that way, sure. But I tell people in all of my classes, like, it prepared me for nothing in the gun world. Like, I didn't carry a gun in law enforcement. Like, I'm open and honest about that in my classes because people will use, I was former military or I was former law enforcement to beat people over the head with that and say, obviously I'm an expert because I did 20 years in the military or 20 years in law enforcement. And I'm like, I know cops who the only time they shoot their gun is at their yearly qualification. Yeah. I mean, that's it. They go to their, and they'll openly tell you that. And I'm like, dude, that's scary. It is. After you become a gun guy, you're like, so you shoot twice a year? Yeah. I always tell people, I'm like, you could learn how to golf from Tiger Woods. Yeah. But if you golf twice a year, you're gonna suck. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. Exactly. You can have all the high-end training. You can have all of that stuff. Yeah. But if you don't put it to use, it's a perishable skill. Right. You're gonna suck at it. Yeah, exactly. You absolutely are. Yeah. I had a guy a long time ago. Call me up, ask me a couple questions. Do I work with beginning students? I'm like, yeah, of course I work with beginning students. And then the guy finally threw it out. He's like, all right, I've been a cop for 15 years. Yeah. I learned how to shoot in the academy. I'm not a gun guy. Yep. I shoot when I do qualifications. Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool, man. Yeah. Like, good for you for work with that. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And then of course you tell them about, you do the ball and dummy trick. Right. Right. You put some dummy rounds in with some live rounds, and he does this: bang, bang, exactly. Click. Yep. There's the problem, dude. Are you sure? Yep. You sure it's not the gun? I'm pretty sure it's not the gun. Yep. He hands you your gun. You're like, oh my god, front sight press. Front sight press. Yeah. Almost bullseye. You're good to go, man. Yeah. It's not the gun. It's you. Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. So and that's something that like I wanted to showcase to people, in that like I'm a normal dude. Right. And I dressed normally, because you get on YouTube and you see like I see tactical heads in
Right, you
cargo
see
pants, right? Yeah,
See, right,
That's it.
Pants
And you see
and a
people,
black polo.
yeah, they'll be reviewing a holster, or they'll talk about how to do their draw to first shot and that kind of thing. And they'll say, well, here's how to conceal a gun well, or here's how well this holster conceals. I'm like, yeah, but either, you're dressing funky, like you're wearing a Hawaiian shirt,
Right.
and I'm not going to do that regularly.
You're not ready for the Buc-ee.
Or you're wearing an oversized polo or a flannel shirt or something, and like tactical pants. And I'm like,
Right.
that's not how I roll. And so I think it's important to just show up as you are, and for people to see this guy is a normal dude. And I will say, like, when I instruct, I always wear a polo because I want to be professional. And I honestly have mixed feelings about wearing jeans or wearing like cargo pants, like 511 pants, because you want to show up as yourself. And I want to show people I'm just a normal dude. But at the same time, there is an expectation that people want, that they want you to be the expert, and they want you to look like the expert. Yeah. Absolutely. So I kind of, like, I've worn jeans in class before, but I've kind of started going back to the pants, because I want people to get what they're expecting, I guess, as far as how I present myself.
Yeah, my basic attire is a black T-shirt, jeans, and Chuck Taylors.
Nice.
Right?
I like it.
Yeah, and I told somebody recently, I said, if I had longer hair and a baseball cap, I'd look like Wayne Campbell. Right?
That's awesome.
So I have one pair of jeans that's all tore up on the leg, and I'm like, I'm probably too old and too overweight to be wearing something like this. Right? I look like I'm David Lee Roth from 1984 or something, but
yeah, but I think people appreciate that, honestly. Like, they appreciate seeing real people and understanding that we're not all former cops and military and like rude know-it-alls. Not to say that everybody is, but there are a lot of
guys
loud
like that.
voices that
absolutely. Yeah, I've told people, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with taking it with somebody that's a police officer, but the police officer doesn't carry the way that we're going to carry.
Right.
And they can own guns that you and I can't have, which I'm not necessarily for.
Right.
And they can carry in places that you and I can't carry, and they have a different set of rules.
Yeah, they can shoot people when we can't.
Right. So and I tell people, I'm like, you might.
And they have to chase people when we don't.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't. I'm like, you could be at a bank robbery.
Yep.
You could watch a bank robbery in progress.
Yeah.
And you're standing there with your gun, and even though it's a scary situation, you don't have to pull your gun out and shoot somebody.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yep.
But if they turn around, and then I said, it goes to the mindset about things, and say things change, because somebody robbing a bank is a scary situation.
Right.
But I don't have to shoot the bad guy.
Right.
However, if he turns around and starts randomly shooting people, I'm now in fear for my life.
Right. Right.
So it's different.
Yeah.
And you have to know this. And how many times have people come in and they say, "Oh, I got a friend that's a police officer that said if I shoot somebody outside of my house, just drag them back in."
Right. Right.
Like, yeah, dude. I don't watch CSI, but that's tampering.
Right. And the questions that I get a lot, that I deal with on YouTube some too, are those questions in class that they ask law enforcement these questions, just like that, like legal questions. And I'm like, look, dude, like, they're not your attorney, and they arrest people. Like, they're not trying to keep you out of jail. They're, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying, like, they'll answer it as best they can a lot of times, but you'll have questions like that they want a cut and dry answer for, like, well, can I shoot somebody if they're on my property, or if they're on my porch, or if they won't leave, or if they make it inside my house or whatever? And I'm like, if the question you're asking is if, then you're asking like, can I get away with murder if they do this? Like, you need to be asking, instead of can I, you need to be asking, should I and must I? Yeah, do I absolutely have to? So that's kind of how I answer it as well. Do you absolutely have to? Is there any other option? And it's very, like, based on the situations. Yeah. And
I tell people, I say, my non-gun friends will ask me if I carry a gun, and I say yes. Do you carry it loaded? And I say yes. And then they say, well, what are you going to shoot somebody for?
Left.
You're going to shoot somebody because they parked too close to you and dented your car? I'm like, you might not be smart enough to be a gun person. Like, this is not what we have guns for.
Yeah.
You know? There was There was a comment on my community page recently.
Yeah.
Right, in my town community, and someone said that somebody was trying to like offer free hot topping on their car, put some sealant down, and they said no, and they said they got into an argument with the guy in their driveway about whether or not he was going to do their driveway for free.
You take it right up here.
Okay. And then, and one of the guys, he's like, well, that's when I pull out Mr. Glock and have a little talk with him. And I'm like, that's not really a good call either, man.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get into this argument on Facebook, on a community Facebook page.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine that, it is really funny, the mindset of non-gun people, that they think like, it's thought of so much as an intimidation tool that it's really scary, and that's when people really get in trouble. I had a conversation with a friend that she was talking about the situation where these people kept coming into their yard and draining the gas out of their mower. They would like drill a hole in their mower and drain the gas out of it. Yeah. And
why drill a hole when you can just siphon it?
Yeah, I don't know. They
why
weren't
would
smart
you do
enough.
property damage too?
Exactly. So yeah, she was talking about how upset they were about it, and she said at one point they started coming down the driveway. I think they were coming down on a 4-wheeler or something, and she said, "Yeah, my husband came out on the porch and came out with his shotgun." And he said, she said, they left, but I know that if they would have, come in and tried to steal the gas again, he would have shot him. And I was like, well, thank God they didn't, because he would probably be in prison.
Right. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
It's not cut and dry.
Yeah.
I've had people say, so you want to tell me if someone broke into my house, I can't just shoot him?
Yeah.
No. He's got to have the ability, the opportunity, and the intent.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have one of those, you're going to get in trouble for murder.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's scary how little people know, and honestly, the legal aspect, which is why I talk some about it in my concealed carry class. The legal aspect is the class that nobody's going to sign up for, because it's like, well, I'm not going to, they don't think they're going to need it, because they don't until they do. Right. And it's also not the fun moving and shooting or drawing faster from concealment. It's the boring sit in a class and learn how to not go to jail, right? So yeah, that's honestly, I think, the biggest lack in the concealed carry community and in the 2A community is that people just want the fun gun stuff and they don't want the practical stuff. Yeah. Even like trauma medical and stuff like that. Like people don't sign up for those classes much because
it's less sexy.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the fun gun stuff. It's the really practical, like, people may make fun of me. I carry this everywhere. Every time I get in somebody else's car, like, this comes with me.
All right, so I might have freaked out a little bit.
Yeah.
What the hell's he doing?
Yeah. Well, I have my ankle kit on too, so I'm a little bit obsessed. I'm kind of more obsessed with medical than I am about gun stuff.
That's a good thing. This is where I'm like, everybody's a better person.
Yeah.
Everyone's a better person than me.
Well, the main reason is because I've had so many situations. I've had to use my trauma kit 4 different times. And thankfully, like, they weren't, I've never had to use a tourniquet or like wound pack. So it's not like I've dealt with gunshot wounds or stuff, but man, like, car accidents happen all the time. Hiking accidents happen all the time. We were on the Appalachian Trail and had a guy fall on his knife and it stabbed through his sheath. It was like a fixed blade knife and into his leg. We had a guy at church fall, and he was an older guy, hit his head on the pew, had to get like 8 stitches. Damn. So yeah, like the trauma medical stuff is way more practical and realistic than the gun stuff.
Definitely. That's, yeah. I was watching one of your videos you had on your friend that's a doctor, and you're talking about the Stop the Bleed class. I'm like, I need to just buck up and do it. I really do.
Yeah, so Mountain Man Medical actually has a free one on their website too that's an online class.
Oh, that's cool.
So I will say, like, the in-person one is better. You can make a left up here. I just want to show you this overlook up here.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's free on their website. You're not able to do a lot of the hands-on stuff because it's online, but if nothing else, like, it's totally worth doing.
Very cool.
So yeah, here's the overlook.
All right, so Mountain Man Medical. We'll wrap up with that.
Yeah. absolutely. So yeah, Mountain Man Medical has that free class on their website, and it's if you're not going to do anything else, like that's what I use for my church safety guys. If we're not going to go to an in-person class, or if we're waiting a couple months on one, I'm like, let's do this for now, because it's incredible information and it's completely free.
Gotcha.
It's pretty awesome.
All right, where can people find you and your YouTube channel and all your Workman protection instructions?
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is just Workman Protection. My website for training and everything, if you want to train with me, is workmanprotectiontraining.com. My email is just workmanprotectiontraining@gmail.com. So it's pretty much across the board.
Very cool.
But yeah, I post a video every week, and I post YouTube shorts just about every day. Just kind of snippets of my videos and things that I find interesting.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
we'll put links to all that stuff. Yeah. Will, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I appreciate people that reach out, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know everybody, obviously.
Yep.
Working on that, but yeah, it's good to have people reach out and say that they want to be on the show and be able to make it happen.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Cool. I appreciate this.
It's always fun to talk to other gun people.
It is. We really are the greatest people.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, we need to wrap things up here. If you are not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, go to saf.org. There's a link down below where you can join the Second Amendment Foundation. It's $150 for a lifetime membership. You can find all of your favorite pro-freedom podcasts at sdrn.us. That's the Self-Defense Radio Network. And if you've made it this far, you definitely need to be sharing the show with your friends, because this is how we get the Stagecoach across America. We're going to have links for Will and all of his stuff below. And again, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We'll talk to you guys later.